get about their system. Hi, welcome to BrightTakes. My name is Vince Tardy. I am the creative director at Brightfind. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Peggy Winton. Peggy is the interim president and CEO of AIIM, the Association for Information and Image Management. And recently Brightfind and AIIM partnered on a website redesign for her organization. So thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure. It's great to see you again, Vince.
Excellent.
We have lots of things we can share with you.
Well, that's fantastic. So, first question, how did you know it was time for a redesign?
Two big reasons, I think. The one that hurt the most was in sales. We quickly realized that we were probably doing everything we could to make it harder for people to find what they needed and to ultimately buy one of our products. We sell rich subscriptions in terms of exclusive content, and we also have a lot of different flavors of training programs. And the second was our own internal users had difficulty finding their key assets, and we really pride ourselves internally on enabling our own business users and avoiding having to involve IT in a lot of things. And we would get to just that one point of doing some web editing when we couldn't go any further because of a lousy setup in terms of tables and folder structure, and we had to ask IT, and we didn't like that at all. So.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So redesigning your website is a daunting undertaking. So where did you begin?
We had entertained a lot of different options, and we talked to a lot of different specialty organizations, and everybody seemed to want to lead with a technology discussion or a design discussion. And we just had to stop and say, what is the business objective that we're really trying to achieve? And I don't know if you remember that first kickoff meeting when you all came in, and you didn't say one thing about those other two to begin with, and you really asked us, what is it that we were driving towards? And you told us a lot of things that we hadn't even realized.
That's great.
We do a lot of free programming that we are able to monetize with the solution providers in our space. And those are largely driven by other activities, a lot of outbound messaging and social. And yet we were devoting most of our web real estate to those kinds of things. And you all quickly pointed out, we shouldn't be doing that because it wouldn't affect the outcome either way, and instead we should really be leveraging and optimizing those things that we wanted to sell.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That was a real eye-opener for us, and we appreciated that.
Great. No, that's very exciting. What was great about that meeting was the shift from thinking about things from sort of like, and I would like to call it an organizational navel-gazing perspective, to really viewing it from like a user's perspective. So that's very exciting.
Well, you guys clearly specialize in that, and that's hard. That's a real hard thing to do. When you're a small to medium-sized organization and you think you can do everything in-house and yourself, and for a lot of us who've been around this for a long time, we think we know what's right, but I can't remember who said it doesn't matter what we think, it's what our users think, and that was really helpful too. And you insisted that we do a card sort at the very beginning, and even helped us run that. And that was eye-opening in terms of what our audience was expecting of navigation and what they wanted to find under what categories and things. And we would not necessarily have thought that same way. And nicely, their decisions were unanimous.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's fantastic. So I guess they were onto something.
Yeah.
So, wow. So Who was involved in this process?
I said we're thinly spread, and we are. So some poor, wonderful soul was chosen to be our project manager. She happens to be our director of all membership and rich content programs, Jessica Lombardo. I don't mind mentioning her name because she's been just a superstar. She would never consider herself a technologist or techie in any way, but she stepped up to the plate, and we thought she would be a great candidate because of her enthusiasm, but mostly because she sees the big picture of how our content aligns with our constituents and ultimately conversion. So Jess headed things up for us, and we let her pick her team, and she tried to get as broad a cross-section of business owners as possible. So our major revenue centers all had a place in this group, and we did have our token IT representative. No disrespect there. We've got a very small bench where IT is concerned, and great guys. But this was led by the business owners, and with your help, putting together a project timeline and parameters that was manageable. Folks did this in their spare time.
Spare time.
Yeah.
That's great.
It was amazing, really, and that's what gives us such sense of pride and accomplishment.
Fantastic. So earlier we talked about thinking about things from a user's perspective, and so that's easy to kind of like say, but how did you know what your visitors wanted?
The card sort was very helpful. We did a lot of interviews. We certainly relied on the perspective that you guys brought to us, serving so many other associations with a very diverse clientele and constituent group. That was really, really helpful. And at the end of the day, I think associations often fall into a trap of doing a lot of nicey nice things because they've done them for a long, long time. And that's not going to help the industry that they're representing. It's not going to ensure their long-term sustainability. So we had to talk about business and what keeps the lights on, and how we could create an incredible customer experience, but know that it would ultimately lead to revenue.
All right, here goes. Would you consider your new site to be successful? And if so, why?
We just launched a few weeks ago, so I think it's probably too soon to draw any huge conclusions. I will tell you that we have regained the support and the respect of our internal team. Again, that skepticism from failed projects is not something easily overcome. And just everybody is so impressed with how they, as a team, all pulled it off. And we did it ourselves, in addition to carrying a really heavy other workload. And we did it with minimal IT involvement, and I do think that represents the way that certainly small to medium-sized businesses should be purchasing IT and implementing in the near future. It's got to be led by the business. That is the customer for IT purchases. We know that our internal users, from a back-end use of the tool, and we didn't mention that we use Sitecore, and we had that, and we upgraded that. We stuck with what we did. It's never about the technology. It's the bad way that you implement that causes things to fail or lack of training. Now, any of us, yours truly included, love playing around and going into the page editor tool. You all showed us through the use of some really good templates and a just intuitive structure how to do it. And this particular solution is probably not different than other CMS systems out there. It's all componentized now. You build widgets and you can clone out the wazoo, so you're not necessarily starting from scratch. And it's empowering. It really
Excellent.
is. So that's been a huge success. And all I can say is we've had a great 2 quarters after we launched. So if that's due to the website, that's fantastic. But let's revisit this as we have a little bit more time.
I think that sounds
under
like
our
an
belt.
absolutely fantastic idea.
Good.
Well, Peggy, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to come and talk with us. And I'm sure that folks watching will hopefully have gained some insight into the website redesign process. It can be a little daunting at first, but I think Peggy had like some great tips and some great insight for making that as smooth as possible. So thank you so much.
You're
Really
so
appreciate it.
welcome. It takes a good partner, and you really were partners with us. And I'm happy to talk to any of you out there who are contemplating a similar move. Happy to share what we learned with you. Thanks again for having me, Vince.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and thanks to all of you for watching another episode of BrightTakes. We'll see you next time.